Hi everybody, I hope you're all doing really well. So today I am back to talk about my TBR for Herstoryathon. This is the month-long read-along in March where myself and Brittany over at Literally Smitten aim to read books around women's history. They can be non-fiction or fiction just as long as they are about a woman who existed in the past. We do think of this as being a pretty free, easy breezy event. You're not tied to having to read to any of the prompts, but we do have a little prompt sheet which I will insert here. 9 prompts that you may want to go by to theme your reading if you're really wanting to dig into this month. But as I say, you only have to read one for it to count for this challenge. But I thought it would be fun today to go through each of these 9 prompts and try and find a book that could fit. And so without much further ado, let's just get right into these prompts and these books. The first prompt is to read a book about a woman from a different country to your own. And so one that is on my TBR that I'm quite keen to read is A History of the Roman Empire in 21 Women by Emma Southon. I had previously read A Fatal Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum by Emma Southon. I think she's a really fantastic, funny history writer. I've dipped in occasionally into Roman Empire history, but it's not something I know a whole lot about, but I feel like this would really open up the world for me. The next prompt is letters, essays, diary or memoir. So basically reading something that is written by the hand of one of these famous women rather than written by a biographer or a novelist. And actually in March a book is going to be coming out called Secret Voices, a year of women's diaries. So basically going through each of the 365 days, and Sarah Gristwood, who is the editor, will be selecting a different diary entry from a famous woman to go along with each of the days, and that just sounds like a really fantastic, fascinating look into women's lives by the diaries that they kept. Prompt number 3 is to read a book about an underrepresented woman, whether a person of colour, somebody who is LGBTQ+, neurodiverse, living with a disability. And for this prompt I'd be really keen to check out Frida by Hayden Herrera, which is a biography about Frida Kahlo. Frida Kahlo is always someone I've been really interested in, particularly interested in her art and how her art was really inspired by the different challenges that she faced in life, particularly her disabilities and her time spent in hospital. But I've never actually dug into a biography of her life. I've only ever listened to podcasts, so this would be a really great opportunity. Prompt number 4 is one book, multiple generations. This can be multiple generations within a family or just a history book that spans many decades or centuries, featuring lots of different women across time. For this one, it's back to my actual physical TBR, and I have this massive chunky book, Normal Women by Philippa Gregory, which looks at 900 years of the regular working class women throughout history, rather than looking at nobility, at royalty, looking at pretty much the rest of us. Though unfortunately their histories have not often been delved into because often there are not many primary sources for these women, and I'm really excited to see what Philippa Gregory has dug up, learning more about women's lives who I've never heard of before. Very keen to read this one. Prompt number 5 is Stage and Screen Queens, looking at different women from theatre, movie and television. Last year our group pick for Herstoryathon was Women vs Hollywood by Helen O'Hara, which I really enjoyed, and one that came up quite a lot as a follow-up recommendation was a book called Backwards and in Heels.
It's hard to do this backwards.
You should try it in heels.
The Past, Present and Future of Women Working in Film by Alicia Malone. And this one you can actually get for free on Audible, so that's quite tempting actually. Another audiobook that keeps on popping up for me is When Women Invented Television, The Untold Story of the Female Powerhouses Who Pioneered the Way We Watch Today by Jennifer Keishin Armstrong, looking at the early days of television and the women who really pioneered in that field. And of course there's always the opportunity for a biography or novel about a famous actress or singer. I'm sure I can dig up a lot of those. Prompt number 6 is Writing Women, looking at novelists, journalists, diarists, and I have a couple of options from my TBR. The first one that came to mind was Arthur and Charlotte by Pauline Clooney. This is one I actually picked up from Haworth when I went to the Bronte parsonage, and with that in mind you might be able to guess this is about Charlotte Bronte. Not looking at her writing life with her sisters, but actually looking at her marriage and her later life after her sisters and her brother had passed away. Another option for this is Miss Austen by Gill Hornby. This would actually be a reread for me. I first picked this up in March of 2020, so you can imagine I wasn't in the best headspace when I read this, so it's always been in my mind that I want to reread it to see if I can get a bit more out of it, because I've heard nothing but good things about it, but it just didn't really land for me when I first read it. But also the fact that I believe the BBC are going to be doing a mini-series on this book, which is particularly focused on Cassandra Austen and her relationship to her sister Jane. I'm very keen to give this a second chance. Prompt number 7 is Women at Leisure, so rather than looking at women at work, looking at what women got up to in their free time. One that looks fantastic is Embroidering Her Truth, Mary Queen of Scots and the Language of Power by Claire Hunter, looking at Mary Queen of Scots and her fashion and her leisure pursuit of embroidery, both as a political tool and a way of showcasing her royal lineage, how this solitary activity had great symbolic consequences. Another great option for this is Let's Get Physical, How Women Discovered Exercise and Reshaped the World by Danielle Freidman, looking at the uptick in women and their space within sports and exercise and the empowering effects of that. Prompt number 8 is Activist or Political Women. For me, ever since we were doing rehearsals for Evita, the free biography of Eva Peron that you can get on Audible has been kind of like staring at me. And I feel like this audiobook has been questioning, why have you not listened to me yet, considering you've known about me for over a year? I feel like with show appropriate books, I either front load them at the beginning of rehearsals, or I do what I did with this and I just have put it off so that we're more than a year out from when we did the show and I still feel guilty and still feel like I should have read it. But considering it's right there, I would feel silly not to read this. And then prompt number 9 is to read about an early achiever, so a woman who accomplished great things before she turned 25. And for this one, I have been really inspired to pick up the Mary Shelley biography by Miranda Seymour, especially having read Mary or the Birth of Frankenstein by Anna Eckhout this year. And honestly, being really disappointed by it, I didn't really enjoy that book. But it's made me really crave some great writing about Mary Shelley, and maybe that will have to be via non-fiction instead. I also previously read Romantic Outlaws by Charlotte Gordon and really loved that, so I've been trying to recapture what that book gave me, and hopefully Miranda Seymour can deliver. So there we go, that is a non-exhaustive list of different options for my Herstoryathon TBR. Do let me know if you've read any of the books that I've spoken about today. Alternatively, please let me know of any recommendations you have that will fit any of our prompts for this month. I'd love to hear from you. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I look forward to talking to you again soon. Thanks. Bye.